I have to dig really deep here and not feel like the victim. It isn't about that. That part is over. I was a victim then. I am not a victim now. And where I needed to go in order to get past that and work through that and sit with that and feel all of that, I had to get to the place where I was asking myself, what do I need to understand more about myself? What do I need to understand more about that moment and all of those other moments that whether I attracted it, whether you believe in that or not, but those moments that I experienced that shaped so much of my younger years and my earlier adult years, I mean, that really shaped my behavior, my decisions, my self-image, my self-esteem, my relationships with men, also my relationships with women. The way that those experiences shaped my behavior and how unhealthy I was around those behaviors and around sexuality and around being sexy and using that and thinking it was the only way I would be seen for so many years.
Welcome to the Soul Wide Open podcast with your host, author and certified trauma-informed coach Michelle Renee.
Oh my goodness. Hi, everybody. Oh, it has been a minute since I have sat down in this chair and recorded a podcast episode for my podcast, Soul Wide Open. I'm so glad that you're here and that you didn't give up on me as I went through this big, huge, massive life change lately. A lot of you might already know, but I uprooted from California and drove to Texas by myself and ended up coming here for what was supposed to be a 3-month trial run. And I established residency and I'm here in this beautiful, beautiful place that I'm so grateful for, that I'm now going to be here hopefully very long term and really begin to put my roots down here in Texas. And I could not be more thrilled. But that big life change has been a lot more for me to kind of manage and just sort of process and navigate, way more than I thought it would be, combined with just work, everything that's been going on with Verb Media Group, with my job, with my actual job, and really wanting to get back on track, not just with my writing, not just with the courses, but really wanting to get back on track with this podcast that I just really love doing so much. And today, there's been a few things that have happened since I've been here in Texas. And I had another conversation today. I was at lunch with somebody that I was just introduced to today, and this subject came up again. And this topic is all about, what do we do when we are in a place where something is brand new, we're taking life leaps, we're having things happen to us, and suddenly all of these emotions and all of these feelings are coming up that we don't know how to sit with. And what do we do when we don't know how to sit with it and feel it and really let what I called today at lunch with my friend, he equated it to when you're trying to heal something and it's like going out like in South Beach on a boat or a yacht and you don't know the waterways and you don't hire a captain and you're trying to navigate that for the first time by yourself. It is literally going to be almost impossible. Can it be done? Sure, it can be done. But when you begin to ask yourself or incorporate into your everyday, not even routine, but in your sort of everyday sense of being, when you begin to ask yourself, what do I need to understand more about myself? And when we get in these uncomfortable positions or someone says something that hurts us, and we need to sit with that pain or that trigger or that whatever, what do we normally do right out the gate? We do the things that help us avoid those feelings. We do things that help us avoid those emotions, whether it's we overeat, we turn to alcohol, we turn to drugs, we might turn to sex, we might turn to going out and doing anything that we can possibly to distract ourselves. Well, I had a situation happen very recently with a new friend here in Texas. And this was a big, big, big thing for me because it was a situation that brought something up for me that I actually haven't thought about in years. So I was sitting out on the patio. This person is somebody who is now a friend of mine. He's wonderful. He's beautiful in so many ways. This person does not know my past. And we were talking, and he's been like coming over to watch the barn cat that kind of adopted me when I'm not here. And while he's here, he has been like putting flowers out for me. He knows I love flowers. So when I get home, there's fresh flowers. He's been doing all these wonderful things, coming over and bringing like pieces of salmon. Hey, can I cook you dinner? Hanging out, having great long conversations. And it has been really, really, really wonderful. And so one night we were sitting out on the patio and we're sitting having a fire. We're having this great conversation. And he made a sexual comment to me that really brought me back to a place early in my life when it was basically the very first time in my life that I was used just for sex. And it was early enough in my life where I really didn't understand that then. I understood that it was inappropriate and that it was uncomfortable and that it made me feel, bad about myself and very confused and almost quiet and ashamed and all of these other things. And when he made the comment that he made to me, it brought me back to that place, that moment, that day, the place, the feeling, what the environment looked like at that time. Everything came back to me crystal clear. And in the moment, my initial reaction was like so automatic. My hand went over my mouth, and I just started shaking my head like, no, 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 like in disbelief, or that sort of reaction that you get that is something that is your body and your mind and your soul is just rejecting. And that's exactly what happened. I just started rejecting it almost immediately. And so I didn't tell him in that moment what was going on with me because I couldn't really speak. I couldn't really articulate what was happening to me. I didn't really understand it necessarily in the moment. And so he ended up leaving. And obviously my response to what he said was like, absolutely no, like no, like hard no, right? And so when he left that night, I had trouble sleeping. I really began to sort of think about the situation that happened to me when I was younger. And the whole next day, when I got up the next day, I was in pain. Like I felt the pain of that back then. I felt all of the pain of every other time since then, that basically I was only seen and used for sex by a man, or somebody was only attracted to me sexually and had no intention whatsoever of wanting to get to know whether I was smart, whether I was funny, whether I was caring, whether I was nurturing, whether I was anything else but sexual. And I felt the pain of every single time that has happened in my life. And don't get me wrong, there's been times in my life where I'm very aware of the power of sexuality. I'm very aware of how women can wield that and use that to their advantage. And there has been times where that has been a part of my life. That has been a part of sort of my survival strategy. And it's been a very, very, very long time since I've dove deeply into the reasons for that and really wanting to heal that place and address that place and understand where all of that came from. And using that word right now, the word understand, really leads me to my conversation today about this. So my friend that I was sitting down at lunch with today was just like, yeah, I don't know how to sit and be with my feelings. And my mom just told me that I need to learn how to sit and be with my feelings, even the uncomfortable ones, even the painful ones, and my emotions, without running to alcohol or running to something that is going to numb that or quiet that or remove that, right? And I don't even think that it ever actually gets removed. It just gets numbed out. And so I started explaining this situation with my other friend who said this thing to me, and the entire next day, and I mean the entire next day, I almost could not stop crying. I was crying almost uncontrollably off and on all day. I couldn't focus, I couldn't work, I couldn't function, I couldn't anything. I was so brought back into that earlier memory, in that place that I was, it felt like I was there again. And the way I explained it to him today, how I got through that day, and he's like, how long did it take you to kind of pull yourself out of that? And I said, that day it was really just me and God, and I didn't really lean on a lot of other people for that and reach out to other people necessarily for advice, because sitting with that and processing all of that, sometimes the best way to do that. And a lot of times when you're reaching out for a bunch of different people's opinions and calling people and talking about what happened and doing this with multiple people, that is again another way to avoid just sitting and feeling what this is. Not just sitting and feeling it, but really getting to a place where you understand, I have to dig really deep here and not feel like the victim. It isn't about that. That part is over. I was a victim then. I am not a victim now. And where I needed to go in order to get past that and work through that and sit with that and feel all of that, I had to get to the place where I was asking myself, what do I need to understand more about myself? What do I need to understand more about that moment and all of those other moments that whether I attracted it, whether you believe in that or not, but those moments that I experienced that shaped so much of my younger years and my earlier adult years, I mean, that really shaped my behavior, my decisions, my self-image, my self-esteem, my relationships with men, also my relationships with women. The way that those experiences shaped my behavior and how unhealthy I was around those behaviors and around sexuality and around being sexy and using that and thinking it was the only way I would be seen for so many years. And the fact that I haven't felt that way in so long, and to have someone say what they did, that was obviously, that is all that they were thinking of in that moment. That I thought to myself, I was meant to have this come up as a bit of a mirror, and I meant to look at this again in my life and understand more about myself, more about my past, more about my behaviors, more about what drove me, more about all of those experiences, with more brutal honesty with myself than I have ever given as a gift to myself. Because when we're brutally honest with ourselves, when we finally just rip every layer off and we are down to the bare bones of who we are, and we are our most raw, authentic self with ourselves first, that's when we really look deeply into these kinds of situations and understand more about who we are. How did we arrive here, right now? All of those experiences contributed to my arriving here where I am in my life right here, right now. And not just the experiences, but the way that I have chosen to think about those experiences, the way I've chosen to feel about those experiences, and maybe even more importantly, how have I chose to attach meaning to those experiences? What those experiences mean to me are the meaning that I have given them, not the meaning that the media has given it, not the meaning that anybody else's opinion has given it, not the meaning that any book has given it, but it is the meaning that I have attached and the understanding that I have attached or wrapped those experiences in. So I don't necessarily like the word attachment too much. And how have I wrapped those experiences? What label have I put on those experiences? And that's changed over time. That has changed over time. That has changed with emotional maturity. That has changed with my decision to deep dive into self-compassion. And that has changed because my desire to live life without those restrictions of shame and the restrictions that blame puts on us. When we're blaming other people, we're thinking like, oh, we're putting the blame on them. No, when we're blaming and we have shame, that doesn't restrict other people. That restricts us. That restricts us and confines us to a particular way of being and a particular way of living life. The way that I decided a long time ago to live my life and the way that I envision living my life is pretty unrestricted. I mean, I had the producer for CBS News who did the 48-hour special send me an email the other day and just say a message the other day and say, "You are fearless." And I sat with that. Again, compliments have always been something I've struggled with until maybe the last 5 to 10-ish years, if that. And even when someone sends me a compliment like that, I feel like that is such a beautiful compliment when someone recognizes that I am bold, that I did decide to not allow everything that's happened to me shrink me. And instead, I have literally thought to myself, I am going to take every single thing that's happened in my life to me, for me, with me, because of me, because of my decisions, because of other people's decisions, whatever it is, I am going to take all of that and make that the reason to be more bold. All of those things are more reason for me to live the most authentic life I could possibly live. All of those, a lot of those things people end up going and hiding and being like, I'm going to hide the rest of my life because of this. Because I did this, I made this decision back then when I was in survival mode. I decided to be a stripper, and that holds on to, that has all these labels and all these connotations and all of these negative things attached to it. Well, guess what? Those are negative things that other people have attached to it. Those are not negative things that I've attached to it. And what I've attached to that, and what I have decided to label in my life, the decisions that I've made and what I've decided to, the meaning that I've decided to give to all of the things in my life are meanings that promote boldness. They are meanings that promote self-awareness. They're meanings that promote self-love and forgiveness and compassion. I attach meanings to the things that I have done in my life, especially the things that I have decided and done out of this place of total woundedness, so much pain, full-blown survival, all of that. I have chosen for the meaning for all of that to not be negative. So the meaning that I have today of the situation that I had out on the patio is the meaning for that he was meant to come into my life and be a mirror for me to look at that situation and look at myself again in a brand new way, in a place where I've come so far. And what does that situation mean to me now today that I haven't looked at in so long? And when people say never look back, I think that is complete BS. You know how important it is to look back sometimes, like I just did, and go, okay, what meaning does that have to me now? What have I learned? And that led me into looking at so many other situations along those lines of sexuality in my life and being identified in a certain way for so much of my life. And what does that mean to me now? What does that identity mean to me now? How do I identify myself with sexuality? How do I identify with all of that on my terms? That's what is the most important. That you bring meaning to everything in your life in a way that empowers you and does not disempower you. Don't adopt the meaning to things based on other people, based on other people's, maybe books are very helpful. I read books all the time. But do I completely adopt every single thing in a book that somebody else wrote based on their experiences and who they are? There's a lot in there that I take in, that I learn, that I incorporate into my life. But at the end of the day, the meaning that everything in my life has, every decision I've made, every experience that I've had, is up to me. And when I was at lunch today, talking to my new friend who I just adore, and he said, how did you do this? And I explained this to him. And he brought up the whole analogy about putting a captain on the boat and going out. The captain of the boat, when you're navigating all of these things, when you're navigating meaning, when you're navigating triggers, when you're navigating hurt and pain and the labels, and you're wanting to, you're aspiring to get to that next level of embracing who you are and being honest and being authentic and being the most valuable in your life to you. The captain of that is understanding. Understanding is the captain driving the boat, in control. If you are constantly asking yourself, please, or asking God or whatever you want to say, help me to understand more. Help me to understand myself. Help me to understand the situation. Help me to understand this other person. Help me to understand more. When you start allowing and even inviting understanding to be the driver in your life, you are going to be amazed at the results, at how much you're going to learn to let go of, how much you're going to learn to decide to bring meaning to the things in your life in a way that is no longer negative, no longer has anything to do with shame, no longer has anything to do with pain. It has to do with empowerment. It has to do with you finally realizing that your superpower, your absolute superpower, is being 100% so raw in your authenticity and so comfortable and confident in the meaning that you're bringing to your life and everything that you do and what drives you, and understanding yourself so deeply and accepting yourself so deeply and accepting everything in your life. And some things, am I proud of some things? Of course not. Everybody's like, I'm proud of it because it got me to where I'm at right now. Okay, well, that's good for them. But no, there's certain things that I'm not proud of. But do I loathe myself for them? Do I hate myself for them? No. I seek to understand those things that I did that I'm not proud of. And once that I understand them more, once I understand what drove that decision and what drove that behavior, and I learn to love myself through all of that and just be stoked for who I am today and continue to just strive to want to be better and understand more about who I am, your superpower, that's it. That's it. Our superpower is right there in that most beautiful place of I want to understand and know me on the most deepest personal, intimate level ever, love affair with understanding myself. That's where our superpower is. And once we begin to do that, guess what? Anybody else who shows up in our life, who tries to kind of bring us down and put other labels and other meanings on things and kind of pour their meanings of what they have out on things and, put negative labels or try to make you feel bad about yourself or your decisions or your past or any of that stuff, it's not going to faze you. It's not going to faze you because you're so 100% grounded in your own self-understanding, in your own meaning of the things that you've gone through. They don't have a shot of phasing you. And when they do, like it did out on the patio for me that night, sometimes those big tornado moments come and the emotions come and the past floods in and all of these things. And you just have this tsunami of things that start to come up, and you sit and you feel it and you let yourself have all of the emotions and cry for a day and never step out of going, okay, what is this really about? I need to understand this. Where is this coming from? What is the meaning I'm attaching or bringing to this situation now, today, in my life right now? Not back then. I'm not getting hurled back there. I'm not there anymore. I'm not that person anymore. What does this mean to me now, right now, today? And allow yourself to go through it, grab a hold of that greater understanding and that deeper compassion for yourself and that deeper love for yourself, and celebrate that huge win that you just got through that. And you're coming out with this treasure trove of new understanding, new knowledge, new wisdom, new levels of, oh my God, I got this, And we do. We've got this. And it's interesting because when we go through moments like that, we end up like, I'm sitting back even now going, thank you to this person who said that to me on the patio that night. I really owe him gratitude for saying what he said to me, not knowing my past, not knowing what that was going to bring up for me. But you know what? I want to thank him because it allowed me to go all the way back to a moment in time that was really painful for me, really difficult, really confusing, really shameful, and understand that I don't feel any of that about it anymore. And I think the reason I was crying that entire day, feeling all of that, is because I was finally, really deeply letting it go. I hope this, not I hope, Hope. I can't do hope. Hope is great, but hope doesn't have any real, core foundation. Somebody that I used to know used to tell me that hope is a beggar, and that really resonated with me. So my intention is that this really resonated with you, and that this sits deeply with you, and that you allow yourself to sit with anything that this episode brought up for you, any feelings or emotions that you have around it, and that it acts as a bit of a inspirational push, a motivational push for you to deeply desire to understand yourself more and bring meaning into your life, to every situation that you've been through, every situation you're going to go through, any situation you're in right now, to bring meaning to that resonates with you, a meaning that you give it, not anybody else, not anything else. The meaning that you give it, the positive meaning you give it, the forward motion meaning, not meaning that's going to get you stuck, not meaning that's going to hurl you back and keep you in the past, meaning that is going to help you move forward. Because, any meaning that keeps you stuck isn't a meaning that it's worth holding on to at all. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for tuning into this one. And if you like it, you love it, please share it. Please hit that like button. Send me comments. I really like comments. I really like messages and DMs in my social media, especially on Instagram. Head on over to _Michelle Renee _. I look forward to seeing you there, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.